In the 1970s, I was working at Ohio State University Hospitals as a drug administration technician, so the nurse's aide on a nursing unit that gave medication to patients, in which I did a lot of observation that paid off later that I did not know I was doing at the time. One of the things about being a writer is that everything eventually gets recycled, even if it appeared to be a total waste. Oh yeah. It's a wonderfly redemptive profession.
I still haven't figured out how to get retail sales in any of my books.
But anyway, so I worked in the hospital, and entertained myself driving back and forth to work by making up stories, because I've been making up stories since at least 8th grade. And writing them actually with my friend Lillian Stewart Carl, who just last year edited the Vorkosigan Companion for Bain, by the way. She's my oldest friend. We go back to 7th grade. I should talk more about her as we go along here, because that's part of my formation as a writer was people that I worked with and bounced off of way early. So being a Star Trek fan at the time, I was working on these scenarios, and I had one, and it was good. And that was, I never wrote it, because I wasn't writing yet at that time. I had started to think I was a writer in my late teens, early 20s, and then I kind of lost track of it for about a decade, and then I sort of found it again in my early 30s. This was in that fallow period. So I had a Star Trek scenario, and forgot about it for a while. When I started writing again, in my early 30s, inspired by Lillian, who had also started writing again. We used to write together in high school. We made up these long stories. Fan fiction and scripts and poetry and all kinds of stuff that you do at age 15, 16, 17, all the juvenilia. And she had started writing again, and she made the jump up to the more professional level. Her background is more in history and archaeology, and mine was the science fiction fantasy, so we crossed it all. And she made some short story sales. Money. I was broke. I had 2 small children. I was in a small town in the middle of the Reagan recession. I couldn't get a job. But I thought, okay, I can stay home, take care of the kids, and write something, and somebody will send me money, which we desperately needed because they were like turning up the utilities and things. This turned out to be a good long-range plan, but not a good short-range plan. But I came up, the first thing I wrote, seriously, inspired by Lillian, was a novelette or novella titled Dreamweaver's Dilemma, which I set off to Analog and other places. It never did sell at the time. But it embedded in it sort of the beginning of the Vorkosigan universe, sort of proto-universe. It was a story set on Earth, a little mystery. But we had a character who was like one of the first sublight colonists of Beta Colony, who had like come back to Earth and was sort of out of phase with time because of all the time he'd spent traveling at relativistic speed. And so I had kind of the universe and the proto-universe, and I had this notion for a scenario of 2 people down on a planet making a trek across, and enemies have to cooperate. And when I thought, now I will write a novel next, because I have had some practice writing short, which is what they tell you should do, I sort of smooshed those 2 together and took off with it. So yeah, there's some roots there, but there's also original stuff and a great mixture of things.